Okay, hey everybody. Um, I haven't made a video in a while because I was on vacation with my family. We went to Dollywood and a water park, and I didn't realize until after midnight, the day after the 19th, that it was the day after 5 years to the day of being almost killed. And I had been wanting to make a video about that 5 year anniversary, but I couldn't make it until today, like 5 years and 3 days after after that happened, and it was like the event that changed my life. And it is so life is just so beautiful, man. It really is. Like, God, I woke up, I was in the hospital, and I had this like weird survivor's guilt, and I had it was like the ultimate trauma bonding because he was dead. And I felt at the time, I had all this PTSD and all this like literally fresh wounds, soul wounds and physical wounds, and I was so screwed up. I missed him, and a part of me like felt so stupid for missing him and for like sticking up for the man who almost killed me. You know, I felt dumb, but it was like in the hospital I had these amazing like night shift nurses that could actually like talk to me a little bit because I was like up all night and I like couldn't sleep at all. And it's like I felt like God like placed them, me on their like floors. And with one night shift nurse, her best friend actually had survived a similar thing. It was a murder suicide, and so she it was someone that I could talk to. It happened to be a nurse whose best friend who had been shot in the face with a shotgun, I think she said, by her like ex husband or boyfriend or something. um and just I never would have thought, like, in the hospital, and I was so messed up, and I was so broken. A lot of good came from that, and I was like, I could feel that I had started to change because, as I've mentioned previous times, fight or flight mode, going into that survival mode. And people, I've seen it, I think, trivialized a lot, like, oh, I was in fight or flight, and I'm like, no. Like, I've seen a couple influencers like talk about it, and I don't think you know I don't know. When I went into fight or flight mode, it's like my whole brain changed, and it wasn't just like I was on high alert and I like felt a weird feeling in my gut. It's like, no, my mind was like not a human, or it was like a higher human or a more primal human, or like both. My thought and my mind and my soul was different, and I was out of my ego and out of my mind and living from the soul, which is the purpose of life. And a lot of people go through life and never experience that. But it was like knowing that, hey, my life is about to end, you know, and my soul just like went into like this overdrive. So I had experienced that, life altering event, and my mind operating in this way where it's like, oh my God, there is more to me than just these stupid, neurotic, self destructive, like melancholy thoughts. That there's like this person that has something to offer, but I could have never imagined 5 years ago that I would be 5 years later, like having such an amazing day and having come so far with like being a functional person who is able to live daily life without having to feel the need to escape themselves or to harm themselves in some way. I never thought I would love life so much that I would forget about certain things even for a moment, and I went to a water park on the 19th, and just within the past 2 months, I haven't said anything about it. And this is a small thing, but at the same time, the small things are add up to everything. I made that trend cottage cheese ice cream, and it's like, holy shit, I almost died. I almost went my entire life thinking cottage cheese was just like one of those nasty foods that is not for me. And it turns out that there is a delicious, protein packed, healthier ice cream substitute, and it mixed with cocoa powder and what do I do? Cocoa powder and stevia and honey, and it's amazing. And a little vanilla extract. Like, mix it in a blender. And I got a repurposed blender, one of those like fancy like Nutra whatever blenders, like just for eating healthy. And like little things like that, like little accomplishments, are just everything, and they are so meaningful when you add them up, and you can actually be conscious and deliberate with just living, and living in this way where there is gratitude and care and focus and self-love and just a love for life. I mean, that's it. And I just, God, I was so close to death. And the whole time when I was in active addiction, it was, like I said, 13 total years of addiction, but only about 9 of those years were true, like, active addiction, not counting my sober time in between relapses. So 9 years of my life, like, I was that, like, black sheep family disappointment that would just have to, like, see the pictures and hear about vacations, like, after they got back. And it's like, oh, I wish you could have come. Of course you didn't. And I went, there was only one, oh God, no, there was 2 times that I went on vacation. Once to an amusement park, just like a day trip, and once with like a family vacation to Myrtle Beach when I was in addiction both times. And it was miserable. It was one of some of the most uncomfortable times of my addiction was being on vacation and having to try to balance these 2 worlds of my addiction self with, like, being a normal person. And of course I had dope both times. Or, like I said, when I went to the amusement park, I had brought my dope with me. I'd gotten high before, brought dope, and but I couldn't even enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy an amusement park, and roller coasters are like one of the best things on the planet. And I couldn't even enjoy it when I was in active addiction, because I was just constantly fixating on when I could go to the bathroom and how I was going to fix up my shot of dope, and was my, like, buzz starting to wear off, and I need to hurry up and get back home. And if you can't enjoy, like, amusement parks, and you can't enjoy anything on drugs. And I just, now that my head is clear, I just never thought for so long that I would ever be a person who could live life, period. And then I thought I could never be a person who would want to live life without being in, like, an altered state, without wanting to escape myself. I just didn't think it was possible. I really didn't. And man, if anybody sees this that's, like, struggling, it's just like, God, I never asked myself, like, why was that okay? Like, why was that enough? And I never asked myself that, and I never demanded an answer from myself, because every addict knows why they do what they do. You don't even have to be like a drug addict, just whatever your vice of choice is. Maybe it's staying in a horrible, toxic, or even abusive relationship, because I've been addicted to those as well. Multiple abusive relationships in the past. Maybe it's being addicted to, like, trash food or shopping. I've never been a shopaholic, but I've definitely been a food addict. I've definitely been, like, gluttonous. And I've definitely been a codependent, anxious attachment style love addict, just, like, a chaotic relationship addict, and of course, a drug addict. But no matter what, like, your escape of choices or your outlet or method is, it's like everybody who abuses their body and doesn't actually love themselves enough to take control, and or at least work towards taking control over their lives. It's like, when you are in that headspace, that messed up headspace, why you do it. And everything is just, the most illogical realities are perfectly logical from your point of view. And that's what's frustrating, because it's like a stalemate. There's your point of view, and that your excuses are justifications, and why, what led you to this point, and why you are, stuck in this loop. It. And but at the same time, there's like, the actual reality of your justifications are always just excuses, you know and it's just like two totally different points of view. And so it's like, how can anybody understand you? And that makes you want to use more. And so when I was just really in the thick of it for so many years, I never I knew, like I said, why I got there, just like every addict does. They know, like, that they're unable to live life any other way. And they know, like, they cannot deal with whatever trauma is in their past. It's an expression of pain and hurt and trauma, and this inability to live. And oftentimes with addiction, it's other mental health issues that are intertwined. So it's very complicated. But even though when you're in addiction and why you do it, it's like, for that reason, that's why I never stopped. As my addiction escalated further and further and further to this point of no return, I never stopped and asked myself, well, why is this acceptable? Like, now, I just knew that it was all I could do. It was all I could do was be with this partner who lacked the ability to love